Thank you very much, guys. And well, Deficio said it as well when it comes down to picks and bans. The bans from the Copenhagen Wolves' side not making sense to you at all.
Not at all. They banned out 3 junglers. Still, Lulex managed to get Sejuani, which is top pick, of course, and Gragas on Copenhagen Wolves side. Something I would like to talk about as well is the fact that Copenhagen Wolves prioritized in the second rotation Nami over Ahri, and I think Ahri would have fit perfectly into the comp because she's strung out throughout the game and she doesn't really have any counters, so she can provide pressure on the map that they needed, while Orianna just scales.
One thing I want to touch on is the fact that H2K had so many tools for initiation. You know, Deficio touched so many times in that game. H2K, Copenhagen Wolves, with their protect the AD carry comp, were looking to have a scenario where they wait for H2K engage and kite back. Yeah. Dance, 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 draw out the fight, buy time for Kog'Maw. The problem is they were never safe enough and they were never in the right spot. So every time H2K used their initiation tools, they could punish Copenhagen Wolves. Let alone the fact Copenhagen Wolves never touched a dragon.
Yeah.
35 minutes in, no dragons, no barons. They had zero control over the dragon pit, and you just simply can't give that up to a team like H2K.
It's like if you're banning out junglers, and Sejuani is probably the hardest counter to that team, why don't you just ban Sejuani? It makes no sense to me.
Definitely some glaring errors there. You talked about the dragon control and the team fight presence for H2K, knowing that you have to initiate on the Kog'Maw, but when the Kog'Maw is not even there, it makes it a lot easier. So let's take a look at one of the replays that defined the game for us, and knowing that H2K would probably pull that one out.
Yeah, you're 100% right. The biggest thing to note, look at the top lane. Freeze is miles away. Despite the fact H2K get, honestly, a terrible engage with nearly everything missing, they still commit and throw themselves at this fight because they know the protect the AD carry comp doesn't have anything to protect. So they're going to run Copenhagen Wolves down. Dragon actually is spawning in about 40 seconds after this. And the main thing from H2K is just very, very smart, very decisive play. Yeah. They never allowed the Wolves to kite and draw those team fights.
Most definitely, but what is important to note to me is the fact that this is not Free's mistake. Like Copenhagen Wolves, just take a look at the vision. They could have predicted this play. It was really, really easy to predict. They had the vision that was needed for it.
Yeah, and something that also sort of leading up to this point, I was very impressed with Kissing on Thresh. I think his lanterns saved so many people. He hit some very crucial hooks early on in the game, missed a few at the end. But I think very important to note, if Kissing, who was the game changer for the team, is firing on all cylinders, H2K just steamrolled for that win.
Yeah, for sure.
Is what we've seen throughout the entire split, actually. And I also want to give some praise to Ryu, as we were talking about Soren versus Ryu in that featured matchup. His charms were definitely on point and also allowing him to step up in this one. And now for the Copenhagen Wolves, you have that Juggernaut comp. You know they're going to scale well into the late game, but they kind of dropped everything until that late game point that never even got there. So how do they have to go into this next game knowing, okay, we can't let it go that well, but we know that late, but we know our mid game isn't that well. Will some picks maybe make it better for them?
I would imagine them kind of dropping the idea, but the fundamental mistake they did in the pick and ban phase was not banning Sejuani and of course giving up Ahri. I think Ahri is just perfect for the comp. Even though Orianna makes sense, but you're too reliant on scaling. And that kind of gameplay doesn't work against H2K that is very refined in their play.
Yeah, and I also, like, if Wolves want to go with the same strategy, Nidalee, Rek'Sai, great, fine, I can accept those bans. Elise Sin ban in this patch on this meta, I don't think it belongs there. If you're going to go for jungle priority on 5-6, I agree, replace Sejuani. If I were Copenhagen Wolves or Dentist, I wouldn't try ban the jungle. I wouldn't ban Lulex. He's shown he can play a number of champions, get more priority things away, maybe get rid of Maokai, maybe get rid of, you know, Thresh if Kissing is playing well enough that he can keep hooking.
Yeah. They were all doing good and all doing very well in the team fights as well. Let's get another team fight up on the screen. That solidified the deal for H2K, even though we were seeing which direction it was going in long before that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, simply the fact they picked up the Baron kind of free, it was a very impressive mind play because Copenhagen Wolves were focusing on the 5th Drake. And you can see the position they are put in because of the presence that the Baron provided. That Freeze is in kind of an awkward position where he can only hit Lulex and Odoamne. Orianna ulti gets wasted, and after that, Ryu can basically come in and clean up Freeze when he's in this concave position, and that basically seals the deal.
Yeah, and again, this also just highlights that Copenhagen Wolves are not maybe understanding their own team composition. If you want to kite and fight, you don't lock yourselves into a choke point. If you want to run away and peel, you need space to move and you need your team to be grouped effectively. That was simply not the case. All 5 members of the Wolves were spread out in this defensive arc, and when they didn't have a river or a lane to fall back in, you see how easy it is for H2K's Engage to continually chase.
Definitely, like the fact that I like that they're trying something new, because it's very uncharacteristic of them to pick Kog'Maw for Freeze and all these new picks like this Juggernaut comp. And I like that they're trying new things, but it just didn't work this game.
It did, and as an illustration of what you were saying as well, Arax with the Righteous Glory on Gragas so far into the game when they were so behind. Yes, it did get them 2 kills the one time it worked out, but it's just, I think, a signal of the mindset that they don't understand what they're supposed to do.
And to summarize the point, it's too little too late, right? Copenhagen Wolves need to make sure they can make more positive plays. In the pre-game today, we touched on how important the mid-game was going to be. Wolves do well in lane. They stayed even with H2K, as we've seen they've done many times in the past. But as soon as the H2K, went into that next gear, between 20 and 30 minutes, they got more dragons, more towers. They strangled the Wolves out. H2K's average win time this entire split is 34 minutes and 15 seconds. They won the first game in 34 minutes 40 seconds, right? 30 seconds slower. The exact same style, the exact same decision-making. Wolves need to counter it to be able to put up any sort of fight.
Yeah, everything going to plan for H2K. Well, we're just minutes away from Game 2 between the Copenhagen Wolves and H2K. And as we go to break, we'll hear from how the Wolves changed their postseason focus from promotion relegation to the spring playoffs.
Yeah, a lot of people call Copenhagen Wolves a stepping ground for a better team.
So the Copenhagen Wolves have had players like Reckless, Forgiven, Amazing, all these fantastic players, but they all went on to bigger teams and bigger organizations. They didn't stay in the Copenhagen Wolves.
After Forgiven and Amazing left, there were no particular solo players that impressed me like huge. I didn't have a high opinion on them. As such, last place team who's like fighting for relegation isn't really impressive.
I don't think I had any expectations. I just wanted to do as well as we could. I was hoping for top 5, which turned out to not be unrealistic.
I guess you could really feel that the boys were absolutely tired to play relegations. That was the main goal. They said, I don't want to play relegations anymore. So for us it was, we want to go top 5. We have the potential, we have the players, and now we're just gonna make it work.
They jump back in, that is a massive gnar! Copenhagen Wolves lock H2K up. They're going to try clean house.
I think the main reason we've improved a lot is that we trust in each other and that we can talk to each other about mistakes. We've also flipped around a bit of our playstyle early in the split, where we were trying to play what was meta, and then we decided that we should just play completely to our strengths, which are team fights.
Get ready to start off week 9. It's the Copenhagen Wolves versus Team Rocket.
On Thursday, everything was possible. With a loss, we could still be in a position where we had to go to relegations. So with that in risk against Rocket, who's like a really good team on paper, you're gonna go in with a lot of pressure.
We were really scared going into that week, and we wanted to show everything and play everything we can to prove that we are, if not playoff, then at least not relegation.
It's a double kill for Wollite. This is the AD carry dream. He's going for more, but it's Vander who picks up Freeze. And it is a 3-for-1. Wait a minute, we're not done. There goes Soren to make it 3-for-2 as he picks up Vander. Wollite in some trouble at the top. Soren, can he do more? He's dashing, he's going in.
It was a 60-minute game with like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and I had no idea how it's gonna end.
It's been a hard-fought battle, but the Nexus is bare. The Wolves have done it, and Rocket are out of the playoffs.
And when we won that, there was like so much pressure just falling off from my chest. It was incredible. But for me personally, it was like the most fascinating moment in my so far short esports career.
Right now, we're at the best position possible. No one expects anything from us. We already done more than people expect, so whatever we do from here on out is a bonus.
We can definitely upset, like we are on paper the weaker team in the first round, so we don't have a lot to lose, but we have a lot to win, so we will see.
H2K is obviously the favorite going into that game, but I do think that we have players in our roster that are very experienced when it comes to best of 5s. We're going to be prepared for H2K. We're going to give our best to advance to the top 4. And if we manage to do that, that would be utterly amazing. Like, come on, Wolves top 4, that would be crazy.